Today on Let's Talk Crime, we're going to talk about Arthur hearings, and this is actually a really interesting topic. We had started discussing about it before the podcast, but we figured we'd kind of save it for the viewers. So Frank, let us know about Arthur hearings.
Well, good afternoon first. Well, good afternoon first. Welcome to Let's Talk Crime, and Arthur hearing is a good question. Let me tell you the basis. Everybody's entitled to a bond when you get arrested. However, there are specific charges that don't have a standard bond. When you get arrested, you ask the jailer or the corrections, what is my bond? And they will tell you is no bond. And the reason for that is because that's usually assigned to capital felonies or life felonies with the charges that if you were to be found guilty, you will be sentenced to life or can be. So the state attorney has the right to request pretrial detention in these type of charges. Doesn't mean they're going to get it. They have the right to get it. And the way that is determined is by requesting this so-called Arthur hearing. There's a Florida thing. That's what it's called. It's named under a case called Arthur v. State.
And how do we get the actual hearing?
The way you do that is once you get arrested, you request in writing a bond hearing, in this case an Arthur hearing, to the court. You say, Your Honor, I am requesting on the case of so-and-so a bond hearing to try to have a bond set on this case.
And then once you get the hearing, does the defendant have to testify?
The defendant can testify. That is a strategic decision to be made by the defense team. Remember, everything you say in court can be used later on. The route that most defense attorneys, including myself, will take is try to avoid that. So you have to, it's a burden of the state to prove. The proof is evident and presumption is greater. There's a lot of evidence that you did it, and that's why they want to hold you. So once they do that, if you feel that they haven't met that standard, you don't need to bring in your defendant. You can just argue that they have not met the standard. And that's the way to avoid that. So the answer is no, he does not have to testify, but he may.
And what, just so I can hear it again, what were the two prongs that you mentioned?
The two prongs is they have to prove the state that proof is evident, presumption is great. That's a very high standard. It's more than reasonable doubt, more than what the jury would have to prove, that there's a lot of evidence. And the second standard, if they prove that, they still have to prove that you're at risk of flight. Proof could be evident, presumption is great, and I'm not at risk of flight. I've lived in Miami all my life. I'm not going to leave the jurisdiction, and that's it.
And it's the state's job to prove this.
It's the state's burden. You don't have to prove yourself innocent. They have to prove that they have so much evidence that it reaches this high standard.
Yeah, and I'm guessing this evidence is probably just a clear video camera, maybe of you, committing the felony.
It could be video. It could be a substantial amount of witnesses. A combination of things that makes the judge feel, he's the trier of the facts, that there's a lot of evidence, that there's a likelihood that you will be found guilty if a jury sees this.
And then, so let's say everything works out, they cannot prove this, and you actually get the bond. How much would the bond be? Is it super high?
That's the third question in that case. And the bond deals with what's reasonable. And what's reasonable depends on what is the amount of bond that you have the ability to pay. And for the state, what's reasonable is, judge, not only can he pay it, is it substantial to make sure that he comes back? That's the question.
Right. Okay, well, anything else?
Good topic. I love it. I hope you guys enjoy. Always remember, you can look up Let's Talk Crimes, and you can get our email and send in questions, and we'll try to address it. As always, have a great time. Do not get arrested.
Thank you.
What you gonna do when they come for you?